In 1922, archaeologists accidentally discovered a lost civilization buried under the desert. Harappa, a massive urban settlement with streets laid out in perfect grids, advanced drainage systems running beneath every house, standardized brick sizes, public baths, multi-story buildings. And it was 4,500 years old, older than most Egyptian pyramids, built at the same time as early Mesopotamian cities. But unlike Egypt or Sumer, nobody had ever heard of it. Within a year, they found another one, Mohenjo-Daro, 600 kilometers away. Same grid layout, same drainage, same bricks, same urban planning down to the centimeter. Then they found another, and another. By the 1980s, over 1,400 settlements had been discovered. Together, they represented a civilization covering 1.25 million square kilometers, larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. The Indus Valley Civilization, 5 million people, sophisticated trade networks, advanced metallurgy, a writing system we still can't read. And then around 1900 BCE, they vanished. No mass graves, no burn layers, no evidence of invasion or plague, just empty cities. This file opens the mystery of the civilization that disappeared and the disturbing theories about what happened to them. Here's what makes the Indus Valley Civilization so strange. When British archaeologists stumbled onto Harappa in the 1920s, they weren't looking for a lost civilization. They were looking for bricks to build railways. Workers had been mining the ancient ruins for materials for decades. Nobody realized they were destroying evidence of one of humanity's earliest urban cultures. What the excavations revealed was shocking. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro weren't primitive villages. They were planned cities with populations in the tens of thousands. The street grids were precisely aligned to cardinal directions. Every house connected to a sophisticated sewage system, something Europe wouldn't achieve until the 19th century. The bricks? Standardized in a ratio of 4:2:1. Not just in one city, but across the entire civilization. A brick made in Harappa would fit perfectly into a wall in Mohenjo-Daro, 600 kilometers away. That's not accident. That's planning, regulation, centralized standards enforced across vast distances. And yet, here's the puzzle. We've found no palaces, no temples with priests, no royal tombs, no monuments to kings or gods. In Egypt, pharaohs built pyramids. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats dominated skylines. The Indus Valley? Egalitarian cities with no obvious ruling class. Who organized this? How did a civilization this size coordinate without visible hierarchy? We don't know, and it gets stranger. The Indus people left behind thousands of inscriptions, on seals, on pottery, on metal tablets, short sequences of symbols, usually between 4 and 10 characters. We've cataloged over 4,000 inscribed objects, identified approximately 400 to 600 unique symbols, and we cannot read a single word. This isn't like Egyptian hieroglyphics, which were deciphered using the Rosetta Stone, a bilingual text that gave linguists a key. The Indus script has no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual inscriptions, no known connections to any other writing system. Some researchers argue it's not even writing, just symbolic art or clan markers. Others insist it's a full language, but the texts are too short to decode. In 2004, a team claimed they'd cracked it, linking the symbols to Dravidian languages still spoken in South India. Their work was published, then retracted after other scholars found flaws in the methodology. In 2009, a statistical analysis by computer scientists suggested the symbols do follow linguistic patterns, but what language? Nobody knows. The script might hold answers to everything: who ruled, what they believed, why they built these cities, and most critically, what happened when it all ended. But right now, it's locked. A dead language with no descendants, a message from the past we can't hear. and without written records, were left guessing about one of history's greatest mysteries. Why did they disappear? Around 1900 BCE, something changed. The cities weren't destroyed, they were abandoned, slowly at first, then completely. At Mohenjo-Daro, evidence shows streets stopped being maintained, buildings fell into disrepair, the sophisticated drainage systems clogged, people left. By 1700 BCE, the great urban centers were empty. The civilization fragmented into smaller rural settlements, writing disappeared, trade networks collapsed, standardized pottery and bricks vanished. A civilization that had thrived for 700 years was gone within 2 centuries. What happened? The first theory archaeologists proposed was invasion. In the 1940s, Sir Mortimer Wheeler found skeletons scattered in the upper levels of Mohenjo-Daro. He claimed they were victims of a massacre, evidence of Aryan invaders sweeping down from the north. The Aryan invasion theory dominated for decades. Textbooks taught it as fact. Then researchers looked closer. The skeletons weren't from a single event. They were from different time periods, buried improperly during the city's final decline. No weapons, no burn layers, no evidence of systematic violence. The invasion theory collapsed. So what killed the Indus Valley Civilization? The answer might be written in the rivers. Recent geological and climate studies reveal something crucial. The rivers moved. The Indus Valley Civilization depended on the monsoon. Predictable seasonal rains fed rivers which irrigated crops, which sustained cities. The entire system was built around reliable water. But around 2000 BCE, the monsoons weakened. Studies of ancient lake sediments, cave formations, and glacial records all point to the same conclusion. A prolonged drought hit the region. It lasted centuries. Even worse, the rivers themselves shifted course. The Ghaggar-Hakra river system, which may have been the legendary Sarasvati described in ancient Vedic texts, dried up entirely. Cities built on its banks were suddenly waterless. Without monsoons, crops failed. Without rivers, trade routes died. Without water, urban centers became unsustainable. The people didn't die, they migrated, moving eastward into the Ganges Valley, dispersing into smaller agricultural communities that could survive on less reliable water sources. The cities emptied not because of conquest, but because the environment that supported them disappeared. This theory fits the archaeological evidence. No violence, no sudden destruction, just gradual abandonment as the climate made urban life impossible. But there's one more twist to this story, and it's the most unsettling. Here's what makes the Indus Valley collapse so relevant today. The civilization wasn't primitive, it was advanced, arguably more sophisticated in urban planning and sanitation than anything in Europe until the Industrial Revolution. They built sustainably, cities designed for hygiene, efficient water management, no evidence of resource overexploitation. And climate change destroyed them anyway. Not because they did anything wrong, because the monsoon patterns shifted, because glacial melt patterns changed, because the planet's climate systems, which humanity has always depended on, are not stable. The Indus people had no warning, no climate models, no satellites tracking changing precipitation patterns. We do. And the regions that once sustained the Indus Valley Civilization are facing the same threats today. The Indus River Basin, still home to over 300 million people in Pakistan and India, is experiencing glacial retreat, changing monsoon patterns and increasing droughts. Studies published in journals like Nature Climate Change warn that the region is approaching critical water stress. The difference is scale. The Indus Valley Civilization had 5 million people. Today's South Asia has over 1.8 billion. They could migrate into less populated areas. We have nowhere left to go. The Indus Valley Civilization didn't collapse because they were ignorant or reckless. They built some of the most advanced cities in the ancient world. They managed resources carefully. They created systems that worked for 700 years. And when the climate shifted, none of it mattered. The cities emptied, the writing disappeared, the trade networks dissolved. Within a few generations, the entire civilization existed only as ruins buried under soil. For 3,700 years, nobody even knew they'd existed. Now we know. We've excavated their cities, we've mapped their trade routes, we've cataloged their mysterious script. But we still can't answer the most important question. If it happened to them, why do we think it can't happen to us? The Indus Valley Civilization disappeared because the environmental systems that sustained them changed faster than they could adapt. Look at the climate data today. Look at the glacial retreat. Look at the shifting weather patterns. The same systems that collapsed their world are destabilizing ours. The difference is, they didn't know it was coming. We do. This file remains open.